They're 10th in EPA per play per dropback. So that includes scrambles. And I know that people are like, oh, yeah, rushing quarterbacks and things like that. Yeah, that includes scrambles as a part of that. So, yeah.
And that's with the shitty pass rush that we're watching.
Yes, absolutely the case right now. Now, depending on who you talk to, it's not. But it is. I think we all know it is. But it's one of those that some of the advanced metrics show that George and Chris are performing at a really high level. I think all of us watch this. Doesn't pass the eye test.
Amateur Hour Chiefs Podcast. Amateur Hour Chiefs Podcast. Amateur Hour Podcast on KC Sports Network. Amateur on KC Sports Network. Hour on KC Sports Network. Podcast on KC Sports Net. We're gonna talk Chiefs football for you, and you, and you, and you.
What is this, amateur hour?
Yeah, I ain't no Superman businessman like you. You know, I'm just an
amateur,
I suppose.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The show is called Amateur Hour. I'm Ryan Scott Hall, and joining me today, live from somewhere near Sydney, Australia, I would imagine.
Ahoy.
His Dirkness.
Son, what do they say over there? Ahoy? I think it's ahoy. Ahoy?
Good day.
Good day. Oh, yeah. Damn. I got to acclimate here. And joining us today, special guest for Amateur Hour, the tall baller from the D, the sensual colossal giant, Craig Stout.
Good day. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you do it right there. Tall baller from the D. You know what? I think I'm putting that in my email signature at work from now.
Well, you know, that's a Dirk nickname, the tall baller from the G.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Gentlemen, thank you for having me on Amateur Hour. You know, OG podcast. I get to come and join you guys every once in a while. Really love having you on, or being on with you guys. Not having you on, being on with you guys.
Honestly, Craig, you're our first guest in years, many years. It's been a long time. We were kind of tossing around some ideas about what this bi-week show might look like, and said, you know what, let's mix it up and bring somebody smarter than both of us on.
And you chose me,
and here you are.
No,
we said
wrong.
We said taller than the both of us.
Oh, taller.
Ryan,
okay, that makes sense.
Ryan
that
misheard.
checks out.
You misheard.
I mean, and those of you that have listened to Amateur Hour for a while, you know that especially when the amateur scouting service is on the scene, that tall is a really important trait. Okay,
it is.
Craig checks out in the ass department. Has very high scores across.
I do. I'm definitely an ass man. Yeah, definitely.
Dirk, what's your big thing?
Big thing, step aside, Diggler. Big thing this week. We'll go a little shorter since we got a guest here. I don't want to be rude. But we're kind of reflecting back on the season here as a whole before we, I think, just dive into Chiefs Broncos is the general consensus here. But I really think the story of the 2025 Chiefs is that they are the exact opposite of the 2024 Chiefs. Like, everybody has just loved the Chiefs this year because they are just beating down bad teams. While all of last year, we just talked about how the teams beating down bad teams, good for them because that doesn't really pay off in January. And last year, while the Chiefs won damn near every single game they played, the story coming out of every single game was, what's wrong with the Chiefs? So we're looking at obviously one-score games here. I went back and looked. They were 12-0 last year, including the playoffs. They are 0-4 this year. The public perception on it, obviously, I think there's ideas floating around that this is like the best team, maybe most complete team of the Patrick Mahomes era, and yet they are not in the playoffs here at the midpoint of the 2025 NFL season. How about point differential? A huge talking point of last year where they finished plus 59 on the season. They're already at plus 76 this season. So already beating last year's point differential, even though they're only 5-4 versus 15-1, call it 15-2 last year. So I really just want to highlight how wild of a transition it has been going from last year's Chiefs that nobody seemed to ever like throughout the season, but they won every single game, to this season where everybody loves the Chiefs, and yet they are the in the hunt Super Bowl favorites. So my question is you, just to kind of reflect on that, your thoughts on that, or how about a weird question? Which did you enjoy more? Which season are you enjoying more? All the winning, but we don't really look good and games are kind of stressful? Or this year where, games are meaningful, but, if they're losing them, losing is not fun. So, I mean, which one did you enjoy more, or what do you think of that observation?
I mean, I'm supposed to say that I enjoyed last year more because the defense was the reigning kind of element on that team, and they won a lot more. But my blood pressure really loves this team a lot more than I loved last year's, not having to constantly be in a dogfight and look terrible all the time. I think it also gives everybody a lot more hope. Like, oh, hey, had a bad half. Don't worry about it. They'll come out and they'll figure out a way to kind of turn things around. I know Buffalo was not the case, but you have that expectation generally with this football team right now. Last year, it was just kind of, all right, buckle in. What weird way are they going to win at the end of this? They're going to block a kick. There's going to be a fumbled snap. What's going to happen that bounces the Chiefs' way? This year, it feels a lot more concrete. It's just like, oh, yeah, no, they're going to come out there in the second half. They're going to blow the doors off the defense, and now they blew out a bad team. So, yes, last year was more satisfying because of all the winning and everything like that, but this year is definitely a more enjoyable team to watch, in my opinion.
I think last year was like harder to prove that the team was good despite the fact that they had all the wins. Like, at the end of so many games, and the reason why a lot of national people and kind of the poster child, I think, for this last year was Bill Simmons, but it was like, they would like get mad at the Chiefs because they said, I can't not bet like in favor of this team because they keep winning and they have Patrick Mahomes. So I would be an idiot to bet against them. But if that's the only thing that I have that tells me, to bet on the Chiefs, that does, it doesn't feel like the right way to go about things. And so a lot of people didn't like that team last year. I mean, I don't know that I'm having more fun. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed the fact that every week they pulled something out of their keister and it was like, oh, wait, how did we do it this week? Oh, Aiden O'Connell wasn't looking when they snapped the ball. Oh, wait, we got a blocked kick. Oh, wait, someone, super double doink or whatever. Like, I mean, it's just like every single week there's something new and fun. It was like there's a new gift to unwrap, hey, how are the Chiefs gonna win this week? And so that was a lot of fun this year. Craig, you said that it's like better on your blood pressure. I think that the in-game experience, sure. But like the overall experience, I'm so irritated with this that my blood pressure is not like relaxed. I'm worried about them, honestly.
That's was exactly what I was going to say. Like the in game, sure, you're kind of frustrated throughout the whole game. Whereas this season, it's more like frustrated all week long because you're like, how are we the Super Bowl favorites but have a 5-4 record, and I'm sweating these next two games? Where I mean, if we lose one, or God forbid if we lose two, we're in legit trouble. Like I would say this season is more stressful, but I like the stress. I mean, I want the stress back. Like I don't want the team to be too good. Where like last year, like the games didn't have that much meaning. Like I'm watching them, and they never really blew the doors off of anyone. But it was kind of like if they lose, it doesn't really matter because we're still in the driver's seat for the 1 seed. Like everything's still here in front of us. Like the regular season games just became kind of, I don't want to say meaningless, but definitely had less meaning. But the games were fun because they were always close. So it wasn't like a boring watch or anything. Like it was fun to watch because it was close, and so it came down to the end. Whereas this year you get a lot more blowouts from the team, where it's not as fun or where it's not as close. So yeah, I just think it's funny how like just as fans we've kind of swung, because last year it was like, well, winning is the skill. What are the Chiefs good at? They're good at winning. Whereas this year we're like, the Broncos are 8-2, but they are total frauds. I don't care how they're winning. It's more about how you look, and the Chiefs look better.
And the Eagles are under the same lens that the Chiefs were under last year. Less so, they're less so at this point. But I'm talking specifically about game day blood pressure. Fully agree. Like after that Jacksonville game, I walked around all week just being like, how the hell did that happen? How did they let that happen? Absolutely no shot. They play that game another 10 times. The Chiefs are probably winning all 10. Just it really felt so bizarre. So I fully understand that, fully agree. I also, Ryan and I talked about it a little bit on 21 Questions this past weekend, talking a little bit about where they rank. The Chiefs on offense last year were like very middle of the pack in almost every single offensive category, except for like third down conversions. Hey, Pat, save us. And he did. Meanwhile, the defense was fourth. This year, the defense is fourth again to this point, and they're top 10 in offense as well. And that's including the whole season, not just looking at the past few games with Rashee Rice. And so it definitely feels like they're a better football team, or it feels like they have a more complete, well-rounded way to approach things. It's just there are more frustrations this year because you have that on one hand of, hey, you're better than what you're showing. You shouldn't be losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You shouldn't be completely unprepared for what the Chargers bring to you in week one. Like you shouldn't be in that scenario. I think maybe that's where the frustration lies for me personally.
Which is kind of what's stressing me out, because I don't totally trust this team
Fair
to win these games. And they're like the scary thing that we're facing last year. Like I wanted to dive into, because Ryan's kind of said at the end of last week's show, I believe, that he was a little scared. And I was like, I've been thinking about that. Like, how scared are you? And I think the scary thing right now is that the two hardest games left on the schedule are in the next 2 weeks. So if they go 2-0, then we're golden, and we're looking at how good this team is. And it's just like, well, they just had some growing pains, but they've figured it out. Now they have a fairly soft into the schedule, and they're going to be cruising into the playoffs. 1-1, they should be fine. 0-2, and it's panic time. And it's on the table, because in these are games that, similar Vegas lines to what they've already lost. Like, we all say they shouldn't have lost that Jags game, but they did. So it's kind of just weird. Like, I am scared of these next two games. They are just like, they're looming, and anything can happen in a single game where it's just like, oh man, if this season goes awry, like that's one of the, like, I'm curious of your guys' reactions if the Chiefs just straight miss the playoffs. Like, nothing funky going on, nothing like a Mahomes injury or anything, but this Chiefs team, this version of the Chiefs team, just straight missing the playoffs with 7 teams now in the playoffs. I'm curious, like, what your guys' reaction would be, or how scared you are of these next two games or the rest of the season here.
Before you asked that question, I couldn't help but think, we used to talk about the inevitability of the Chiefs There's like a good way and a bad way. The Chiefs were inevitable because they were going to beat you eventually, and that was the good way. But the bad way that the Chiefs were inevitable was that the regular season was just meaningless because, you had to wait until January to see like what mattered. And I feel like we found a solution. Just lose a few games at the beginning of the year, and then the regular season means something again. And so like, hey, all right, congrats to us. Your question, Dirk, is tough, so I'm going to answer it after break.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Hey, we're back, all three of us. That's right.
I came back after the break. I didn't leave.
Craig Stout still here, still joining us on this bye-week special of Amateur Hour. Before the break, Dirk, you asked what our reaction would be if this Kansas City Chiefs team just straight up misses the playoffs, and it's not, a Mahomes injury. It's nothing fishy, nothing funky. They just don't win enough games. We kind of did like a version of this on that 21 questions where they asked, like, would it be the end of the dynasty if you miss the playoffs? And I said, everyone outside of Kansas City would probably want to say yes, but they probably don't even want to acknowledge that it's a dynasty anyway. And everybody inside of Kansas City would be like, it's just one little dip and we'll be right back up. Mm-hmm. I think that if they just miss the playoffs without some, big major injury that's holding them back or whatever, I think the story I'm going to tell myself is this was overdue. It's an accumulation of all the extra games that they've had to play and all the different challenges that come with, having a target on your back and whatever. And they kind of earned the right to maybe, come up a half game short or whatever. And it might be good for them in the long run. And then I'm going to start talking about the draft and be like, hey, guess what? We get to pick, 21st or something instead of 32nd. To where it's going to be like, hey, this is the year that we get to reset because we're picking, 10 picks earlier in every round or whatever. And so I'd probably find
you better hit on that pick. If that's what you're excited about, you better hit on that damn pick.
Yeah.
It better be an amazing pick for sure. But I mean, as kind of Chiefs colored glasses guy, I think I would probably just try to turn it into a positive thing would be my guess.
So I want to look at the AFC playoff picture here because I know we talked about this a lot, but where we stand at the bye week right now, the Chiefs are in the 8th spot right now at 5-4. You got your locked in top 4 seeds there. Then you got Buffalo at 6-2, Chargers at 6-3, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5-3. Chiefs
just for the record.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for the record, real quick, Craig. There's going to be games being played before this airs.
Absolutely. Yes,
those records
absolutely.
One game on, just so everybody's clearly listening to this. We are recording this for this weekend of games.
Switch modes. My apologies.
You're good.
Anyway, the way that this is shaken out, you've got a bunch of teams that, are currently at or around where the Chiefs are. And as far as the playoffs and everything like that. So, regardless of where they are, you've got the Chargers and the Jaguars that you're probably looking at as the real competition for your playoff spots here. Jaguars haven't played the Colts at all this year. They still got 2 more Colts games that are on the schedule. I think that we are all now, after a large part of the season, I kept waiting for Daniel Jones to basically come back to earth. He's not. That offense is good. That defense is good. I think that's a good football team. And it's very reasonable that the Jaguars can lose both of those games that they still have left on the schedule. They've got the Broncos still left on the schedule. They've got the Chargers and the Jaguars are playing each other next week. And so there's going to be a loss that occurs there. The Chiefs have the Chargers again. They've got the Broncos and the Texans. What I'm trying to say is I know that we're all worried about the playoff situation and that, things could be dire. So if they go 0-2 in this next 2, let's posit that theory. The Chiefs go 0-2 in this next 2. At that point, you are losing to teams that are in that top 4 spot. And the teams that you're competing with are also not in great spots. Their schedules are harder after that than the Kansas City Chiefs are. So they could put together a run. Yes, you're not probably winning the AFC West in that scenario of an 0-2, over the next two, but you are in a spot where you are still probably in the driver's seat for the playoffs. And frankly, we've seen this team enough times here that once they get into January and February, they're a completely different football team. Now, that's the case this year. Maybe. I don't know. They're losing some stupid games that they shouldn't lose. But I do think that when you are looking at where they sit in the playoffs, everybody's very worried about that 8 seed and the fact that they're currently, out of the playoffs at the time of the bye before all the games have been played. But as it stands right now, I think that there is a very, very good shot that even if the Chiefs do go 0-2, they can run the back half of this and still make the playoffs because the other teams in front of them, frankly, have a lot more difficult games to play.
Oof. That's tough. That's a tough spot. 5-6. That's tough. I'm looking at this. It could be a really weird AFC playoff because the 3 wildcard teams could legitimately be the Bills, Ravens, and Chiefs.
I know.
The 3 teams that everybody had on top of the AFC could legitimately be the 3 wildcard teams. And that just creates really weird matchups across the board where the 3 wildcards are probably all favored in their away playoff games in the first round. And then just the matchups get funky with the seeding on who plays who. And you can get like the 6 and the 7 seed in the AFC Championship game. Like it's a really weird season how it's playing out thus far. It'll be weird to see if it stays like that or if these teams, these 3 teams that have run the AFC kind of rise to the top here. But
well, and one of the big reasons that everyone would be favoring those teams is because all of these others have basically no playoff experience. I mean, you're talking about the Drake May Patriots, right? You're talking about the Daniel Jones Colts. Like
Still
these
don't believe in
teams, they don't have a reputation at all. And so, it's almost like, and maybe even to a lesser extent, but it reminds me of like the Titans having the 1 seed and everybody's like, okay, but it's, Derrick Henry is scary. Sure. And they had a pretty decent defense and they're a tough football team, but like it's Tannehill, and don't get me wrong. Drake May's been phenomenal and I don't need to single out the Patriots, but it's like if the Patriots win the division and the Bills are a wild card team, I don't think anybody except maybe the most biased Patriots fans are going to be like, yeah, we're better than the Bills and more prepared for this playoff moment than they are. Right. And so I think you're going to be looking at some of these teams like a Jacksonville, or like New England, that they're just not really, I think, trustworthy as far as the playoffs are concerned. And so if your 3 wildcard teams are, the stalwarts in the AFC, then deservedly so, I think they would be betting favorites. Right.
Can I just say real quick for Bills fans, if they have this run and then never get to the mountaintop, never win a title and see the Patriots leapfrog them again and say, go to a Super Bowl or something before them, I can't imagine. I mean, it would be like, I would get sick to my stomach thinking of like the Broncos doing that to us. And that was like a much shorter run of dominance over us than like the Patriots. Patriots dominated the Bills for 20 fucking years. The Bills have this little 5-year stretch, can never get over the mountaintop because of Patrick Mahomes. And then the Patriots are back on top of them. Like that would just be a disgusting feeling to see the same franchise do it.
Like if the Colts beat the Bills like in the wild card round or something like that, feasible thing. Let's throw that out there. Sean McDermott keeps his job. Patriots go to the Super Bowl, they fire Sean McDermott the moment that the Patriots go to the Super Bowl because they're just like, no, this isn't how it's supposed to go. I mean, I could see it, but yeah, no, I fully agree. Ryan, to your point, like even maybe I don't know if it's a better comparison, but a more apt comparison or something like that. It's like the early Lamar Ravens, like when they would be in these 1 and 2 seed spots, but everybody's kind of looking at them out of the corner of their eye going, yeah, but once you get to the playoffs, like you haven't shown it yet. So it's that similar thing. Drake May is awesome. And that Patriots team is fun right now. But once you get to January, Vrabel helps. But once you get to January, it's a completely different ball game. Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City are bringing a completely different energy. And let alone the Bo Nix Broncos. Like, no, man, just absolutely no. You're not scared of them in January. You're scared of the defense. You're not scared of that offense at all. And in games where you have to be able to put points on the board, like that defense is great, but you're not going to be able to shut down some of these teams for that many quarters in a row. They're going to get exposed pretty quickly there. So, yeah, I think even sneaking in the back end of the playoffs here is not a death knell for this team at all.
I wanted to bring up a point, sticking with the Chiefs. We'll get to Chiefs Broncos here soon. Something I noticed, though, the Chiefs 2025 free agent class.
Oh,
We're looking at Jalen Moore, Christian Fulton, Elijah Mitchell, Gardner Minshew. Those are the 4 highest paid free agents. What do they have in common? If things are going according to plan, they will play a combined 0 snaps. 0 snaps. The belle of the ball right now is Jerry Tillery out there logging 10 to 12 snaps with his one pressure on the season, I think.
He is not the belle of the ball. He maybe gets the snaps, but he's not the belle of the ball.
That's just, I mean, each of them kind of has their own explanation where you can, justify it, but it's just wild to think that, people are putting this Chiefs team on the pedestal when they are getting essentially, I mean, obviously Jalen Moore has filled in and done a pretty good job, struggled in his last game. But it's just wild to see them be put on this pedestal, getting absolutely nothing from this free agent class. It's wild to see.
No, what it has begat is a bunch of questions about Brett Veach. And I keep seeing people, and then don't get me wrong, like the comment section of any social media website is not where you want to be. But I mean, I'm seeing a lot of Veach has failed Mahomes. He's let the roster deteriorate around him. We don't have any of the depth pieces that we used to. This team can't survive like this. And I'm starting to hear a lot of people talk about like an approach like the Bills, where hey, they've got all of these B pluses. They're insulated, and it's basically Josh and a whole bunch of not replacement level guys, but just high quality starters, but nobody's great except Josh. People are starting to ask a lot of questions about Veach. And I think that this draft class and free agent class might be the result of every single person involved with the Chiefs putting all that they had into that three-peat. And I'm wondering if this whole off season and potentially this entire season is just one long hangover from, going for 3, right?
I mean, Super Bowl hangovers are a thing. You hardly hear about them anymore, but Super Bowl hangovers are definitely a thing where, for like a 20-year stretch in there, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it would have been like 17 of the 20 teams missed the playoffs or something. Like, it was something ridiculous. Whoever lost the Super Bowl had a hangover. I feel like that's kind of been not the case over the last few years because I don't hear about it anymore. But like, this would be the season where you'd say like, that's a Super Bowl hangover. It's the Leo sit up and point like, yep, there it is. See it.
I mean, and it's, I don't want to be, I don't know, unmerciful as far as the draft class is concerned, but like, it didn't take a genius to pick Josh Simmons at 32 or I guess 31 when you are who you are and you have the problems that you have. And outside of that, I mean, some of the picks that they made seem like somebody that might have had a few too many the night before. I'm going to take the guy that, that George helped train. I'm going to trade up for the one guy that fits in my system and give up the pick that I got for Joe Tooney. I'm going to take the last defensive lineman available that only played 15 snaps a game when he was in college. Like some of these picks, I'm like, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Brett, but I don't know, buddy. I mean, I was not thrilled going through that process, frankly. And you know, it's early to be judging some of those things, but to pile on top of the draft, the free agent class, I don't think that anybody's looking at this and saying, "Oh man, the Chiefs like really got a bunch of." But if they got their franchise left tackle, I don't think anybody cares what the rest of the draft.
I can't badmouth this draft class. I mean, maybe if you're just saying Josh Simmons was the easy pick, but I think that's I don't think that's fair. I mean, every team in front of him passed on him, so it's not just like
you didn't like my jokes. You didn't think it looked like. Okay, I guess Brett was hungover.
But Noel Warius looks like a stud. So I mean,
he does for sure.
I think so. The second rounder seems a little weird. Who did George help train? What did that mean?
Oh, Gelati. Yeah.
Oh, he trained with them before the draft or something?
He did.
Oh, well, they had their main defensive coordinator in college, and so he like connected the two of them, and so George kind of like mentored Gelati.
Craig, what do you think of Gelati? I feel like Gelati's
fine.
Yeah, snaps, but I feel like the first game against the Chargers, I was like, oh, Gelati, like he had a quick pressure like in the end zone, I want to say. And I feel like I haven't seen a whole lot more from him. Not that he's a third-round rookie, so it's not like the expectations should be super high. Like, obviously, Omenihu and Dana are higher on the blame list here. What do you think of Gelati, of what we're seeing? Because he's still getting snaps every single week.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I think he looks like a guy that's still adjusting to the speed a little bit there. And that kind of lines up with what we saw in preseason. You know, like, as the game went along, it was like, oh, look, there's Gelati again. That's great. And then you start looking at it and going, oh, right, yeah, he's playing against second team, third team guys. So yeah, he should take advantage of them.
Well, let me ask this. Is he someone that could provide a spark? I mean, because I think we're all looking at this pass rush like it's the weakness of the team. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline. So it's like, how is the pass rush going to get better? I mean, first and foremost, might be like Spags blitzing might be the only answer, but is Gelati someone who can? Gelati's not good enough to be like, okay, now we got like a third pass rusher.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think you're hoping for Chuck to get better. I think Gelati is a nice guy to have in rotation with George as a pocket pusher. Problem is, if you have two pocket pushers, you're not really getting those quick pressures. You're not making a quarterback as uncomfortable. And eventually in the rep, he will, but it takes a little while to get to that point. They need another guy across from a George and a Gelati that can win quicker. It's why I've liked their stat. Regardless of what you think of Felix and whether or not the Chiefs should have drafted him, I liked the process there. Get a bursty guy that you can put opposite of your pocket pusher. That's what you got to do. You play at different levels of that. He's able to get up the arc. George is kind of corralling things in the middle of the pocket. It makes for a nice tandem there. They just haven't been able to put that together. I think he's just more of the same there. So I wouldn't say, oh, Gelati and George are going to line up opposite each other and be awesome, pocket pushers and things like that. We've seen it work at times, like Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. Like, it worked. It did. And so maybe you can get to that, but I don't expect it this year from that point. I think anything that they're going to get has to come from Chuck, Chris Jones, maybe taking advantage of a few more things, or blitzing.
And really, I mean, Felix had some flashes last year. Like, I know we just see this guy as like a total bust, but like he had some flashes last year, like where he could have been like a breakout. That's the kind of guy you'd see as like a breakout player, like maybe a little too fast for him, and he picks things up in the third year. Also, a name I really haven't heard all season, who I think the Chiefs are missing badly, is the Warthog, Tershawn Wharton, who I was looking at pressure. I was looking at pressure percentages from like last year and this year, and there's a huge drop off at 3 this year, whereas last year we had 3, Wharton and George and Chris Jones, obviously. So I think I don't hear his name getting thrown around a lot, probably because he got hurt this year, and I don't think he's even playing at all, really.
He is. Yeah, he's played in 5 games, couple of sacks. He actually came back last week. Looked okay. Yeah, he just has glimpses. He was typical Warthog. It just shows up at certain games, certain matchups. He takes advantage of it. He gets those one-on-ones and he exploits them. They don't have another guy that can do that.
What about quick thoughts? Because I don't understand what happened to Omenihu and Dana. Where did the production from these two go? 2 years ago, Dana was a really solid player, and then he gets the contract and hasn't really. I mean, we're calling him milk carton Dana over here because he hasn't shown up in the last year and a half. And then Omenihu, I really thought this could be the year after he comes back from the injury and could be a breakout player this year, and we haven't seen that. Any thoughts on what's happened to those two?
I think this is more or less what Dana is. And as teams got more tape on how to beat him, like basically, oh yeah, if I do this and then I do this, then yeah, you hear those pass rushers that get books on offensive linemen and how to beat them and different things to look for. Same goes for the other side there. So I think that it's more of a Dana is a hustle guy, and that's where he's going to continue to win. Chuck's the one that I'm really struggling with there because there are glimpses. You have seen a couple of moments this year where it's like, oh hell, that's exactly what this football team needs. That's a quick win. That's a bendy win. That's a, whatever the case may be. If he's dodging inside or something like that, he's quick enough and bursty enough to get to the quarterback without allowing him to escape around the outside. It's just so infrequent. I'm with you. I thought that this was going to be the year after situation there where you were going to see him be a much different player coming off of that injury, and it just hasn't put together at all this year.
Part of me thinks, and I promise you, I'm not trying to go back to the Brett Veach well too much, but it does feel like they set themselves up for a very slim margin of error on the defensive side of the ball this year, because it was like if you don't hit on Omar Norman Lott, then your defensive interior is probably going to be really thin. And I don't remember at what stage they put Felix on IR. I want to say that happened during training camp, not like during the off season. And so maybe they were thinking that they would be able to use a little more Dana or a little more Omenihu, at defensive tackle, or at least in some of the sub rush, NASCAR package type of things. But boy, it just looks like they don't have enough bodies. And I think it's probably more of an interior problem that the edge players are trying to help with, but they also just simply don't have enough talent on the edge right now. And they're trying to make up for it with a guy like Leo occasionally, who's had some success, but like, I think that Spags, the cupboard is a little empty for him, and the back half of the year, to me, like where they can turn things around as a pass rush is getting better in the back seven. And I'm hoping that might be, Jaden Hicks can find some form, and Christian Fulton can maybe find a role. And if they can suddenly have these two guys that aren't really impacting the defense right now start to have an impact, and they get even better in that secondary, it's just going to buy more time for the guys up front who need time to be able to affect the quarterback.
Well, and looking at the context that the Chiefs defense has played pretty damn well this year, and the pass rush isn't good, and the run defense might not be that good. I mean, I would have to say that the secondary has played superb, hasn't it? I mean, like, that's just kind of process of elimination. Like, how have they had a good defense so far if the pass rush is bad and the run defense is at the best average, I guess? Mm-hmm. So I would have to say, like, the secondary has played great. Does that check out with you, Craig?
I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, they're 25th in EPA per play for rushes. So, like, yeah, that checks out more or less what I feel like they are. They're 10th in EPA per play per drop back. So that includes scrambles. And I know that people are like, oh, yeah, rushing quarterbacks and things like that. Yeah, that includes scrambles as a part of that. So, yeah.
And that's with the shitty pass rush that we're watching.
Yes, absolutely the case right now. Now, depending on who you talk to, it's not, but it is. I think we all know it is, but it's one of those that some of the advanced metrics show that George and Chris are performing at a really high level. I think all of us watch this. Doesn't pass the eye test for any of us there. So yes, yeah. I would agree.
I was kind of listening to your lab last week, and you guys were talking about, I mean, potentially being the last year of Chris Jones. I know Kent brought that up. But it does. Yeah. This year does kind of have the feel like if the Chiefs fall short, it might be like the Brett Veach likes to go all in to attack a problem area in the offseason. Like we all tell the story of the pass rush just wasn't good enough. And then I don't know if it means getting rid of Chris Jones, but like really attacking that position in the offseason and bringing in like 3 new guys like he did with the offensive line when that was the problem. Like it has that feeling if the season goes awry, that's what it's going to be like this offseason.
And that would be exciting, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it feels like it needs a facelift because the things that they've tried haven't worked. And that's like, it doesn't have to be like a failure of Felix or whatever, like, because there's so many different parts of that, like whether it's the evaluation or the hometown kid or the coaching or whatever. It doesn't have to be, a Felix problem, but like Felix not working, Mike Dana not working, Amenahu not working, all of these things that you invested to add to George and Chris, and none of them panned out. Cool. Wipe the slate clean, keep George and Chris, replace everybody else, and see what you got. I guess you're keeping, the 2 guys you just drafted and
sure,
and Hawaii, but
yeah. Great. Okay, so I have a draft question real quick since we're on the Brett Veach. We all remember 2022 was 2022 was an amazing draft class for Brett Veach. Absolutely amazing. We all know that. Which of these 3 since then is the better one, in your opinion? I realize we are still very early in 2025, but 2023 was the Felix year. That's the one that I think everybody's going to look at that first round draft pick and go,
we were there. We got to see it live, baby. What a moment, huh? What a moment.
What a moment, right? Bring the trophies out. Yeah.
As the edibles are wearing down and the nights again, it's a 6 hours standing there with no phone service. One of the weirdest events I've ever attended. I don't know what I was thinking, but
the round 2 pick for that one was Rashee Rice.
There you go.
Excellent pick. Yeah. You
should have showed up on day 2. We should have showed up on day 2, Ryan. What were you thinking?
Chamari Connor in round 4, BJ Thompson, Keandre Coburn, Nick Jones. Obviously, the stars of that class are Rashee Rice, and that just lost his name because I moved on to 2024. But
Chimichanga.
Yeah, Chimichanga. Thank you. That's why I was trying to remember the AHPKC version of that. In 2024, you got Xavier Worthy, Kingsley Suamataia, who, if we did this last year, it would be like, man, this draft class stinks. Right now, he looks more than capable of left guard. Like, you're feeling okay about that pick. Jared Wiley, Jaden Hicks, jury's still out on that one. Hunter Norzad, Kamal Hodden, and then obviously this past year with having.
Can I just say I've never once heard the name Kamal Hodden. What the hell is a Kamal Hodden?
He was a Tennessee corner that got cut. Yeah.
Didn't make the team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I've never heard that name.
Wasn't high on the CBAT scale. Brett, you got to listen, buddy. You got to listen. That's where you got to go. But yeah, 2025, Josh Simmons, Omar Norman-Lott, Ashton Gelati, Noel Williams, who might be the best 3rd round pick in the Brett Veach era. For clarity there, your bar is Derek Nottie and Leo Chanel right now. Every other 3rd round pick has sucked. So, I mean,
Lucas Niang had a few moments.
I stand by my statement. Yeah.
Did
he?
Dorian O'Daniel
already opted out.
What about fan favorite Dorian O'Daniel?
Fan favorite Dorian O'Daniel that I had to explain why he wasn't playing every single week to everybody.
I think you quit Twitter because you had to answer that question. So why isn't Dorian O'Daniel playing?
Well, he's on his 2nd defensive coordinator who also doesn't want to use him, guys. I wonder why.
To be fair, I mean, if it was any of us as the backup to Anthony Hitchens, they would have been asking the same question.
Completely agree, yes. But yeah, which one of those 3 draft classes do you think is going to be held in highest regard of those? Because we throw a lot of criticisms toward Brett Veach, but these things move pretty quickly. Again, if we did this last year at this time, absolutely last year would be very, very low on the list because the Kingsley pick. Now it's looking better. So it's tough to throw all of this on Brett Veach at this stage of the season is where I'm going with this.
I mean, it honestly feels almost like a rhetorical question, so I'm not going to answer it, and we're going to take a break.
Chiefs Kingdom, what is your favorite touchdown? By now, you guys already know that my favorite touchdown is the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown could bring you closer to cashing in. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. You want spreads? They got it. Over-unders? DraftKings got you covered. Same-game parlays, regular parlays? DraftKings has it, and you need it. And here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Heather Luce, broker owner, KC Local Homes, and Emprise Bank has been a great partner for us. They're our partner in Possible. Debbie and I hit it off immediately, and she was one of the first bankers that I would say sat down with me and actually genuinely cared about my story and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do, not just what kind of loan do you need? How much equity do you have? And she really kind of laid out my options for me and just made the process make sense. And I felt comfortable with it. Start to talk about it and think about it. A building popped up that I wanted, that I could afford, and it was in a great area. And so they really guided me through the SBA. I used the SBA loan to acquire it and really guided me through that process and made it happen. I think that we talk about that a lot, where we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have what we have here if we didn't have the clientele that we do. I've always functioned out of a people over profits mentality. The houses sell themselves, right? I'm here to help people and facilitate the transaction for them.
All right, calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at Arrowhead at the 50-yard line on GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. You can enter a win, a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pre-game coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. That's Chiefs.com/GEHA. And GEHA is a proud partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Dirk, you changed hats. Are you changing? Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a long break. I think we should probably talk about this looming Broncos game.
Wait, we're legitimately ignoring Craig's question. We're not even going to give it an answer.
It was a rhetorical question. Ryan is right.
He said he's like which of these three draft classes, and kind of the point is,
I'm over here evaluating it. I'm breaking down every single player in it.
Who do you?
I do want to hear your Kamal Hadden takes after the previous segment. I have to hear these. I
mean, he's got to be the worst 6th round DB we've drafted in the feature. That's the prime spot. You want to be like a last 3 round defensive back selection.
Nick Jones hung around.
Yeah, Nick Jones. I was going to say Nick Jones. Yeah,
but Nazi, Jalen Watson. I mean, there's some my guy Facarious. Can't forget Facarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to say. They're all pretty even, I guess I would say. But Rashee Rice might be the biggest. Actually, Josh Simmons might be the biggest hit. I'm going to go with the 2025 draft class as my official answer, and not ignore you like Ryan.
I mean, that's just the Josh Simmons effect.
It's a big piece. He hasn't spoken. This is going to be way it's going to be way late, but he hasn't spoken or anything, has he?
No, he has not.
Okay. By the time this airs, he probably has. Will look like dumbasses. So just ignore that.
he will soon, I would imagine. They've probably been trying to figure out what the statement's going to say, and he's trying to figure out what he wants to share and what he doesn't. I think a lot of people are just fascinated, and it may be a morbid curiosity. Like, we don't really know what it is, right? And people have loved to speculate. I think
great timing on the biggest struggle we've seen from Jalen Moore, and then like within 24 hours, like Josh Simmons will be back.
Look, dude, here's the thing. It's not tough to think of a few reasons why it would be a terrible idea to start him against that pass rush off a month-long absence from the team. We're talking about, I don't think he was involved in those game plans. He's not studying film. He's not really doing anything. He's taking care of whatever is going on with his family and like on a leave of absence. Now, sure, he's probably in shape. Sure, like I'm not worried about installs and all that kind of stuff. I think he would be fine physically to go step out and play. But it's still, he's been gone for a month, man. I don't know. But I will say this. I think it's exactly what they should do. If Josh Simmons is the left tackle that you believe him to be, then and this absence is a non-issue, as you have said that it is, then that guy should be absolutely starting against Denver. I don't care how long he's been gone. He wasn't hurt, and if he was, okay, he was out for 4 weeks. He's off IR now. Put him back out there. Like, I think that he absolutely positively should start, but is there not an argument for Jalen Moore here that you don't want to put him against the best pass rush in the NFL after not playing for a month and not even being in Kansas City for a month? I don't know, man. I think there are a lot of people that probably would feel more comfortable with Jalen Moore on Sunday.
I understand that. I really do. And if Jalen Moore had kind of continued to play the way that we had seen him before Buffalo, then I think there would be more of an argument. Buffalo's pass rush is not particularly good, and they got after the Chiefs. And I know we talked about it on the lab plenty about why and how and all of that. But
can I just say, Craig, a phenomenal moment for me to hear you guys openly discussing the Andy shutdown mode on an episode of The Lab, just legitimizing this philosophy that I've been having for a handful of years now, and the film guys spit at it because they think, well, they're not going to not try to win. But just say it was a proud night. It was like,
no, I listen, the chat hated it, but I loved going down that path there. But no, I do think that if he had performed well against Buffalo, there would be a lot more credence to that. I also think that we look at, there's so many rumors about what's going on, when all of this started and all of that. I know ESPN's Nate Taylor, I know he loves when everybody calls him that, brought up the fact that maybe this was something that was first kind of cropping up before the Jacksonville game. He performed well in that mode. So I think if you're looking at it from the perspective of, hey, this has been on his mind, it's, football is kind of, he's a little split, having to deal with lots of things, understandably so, dealing with that sort of personal issue and everything like that. We have an example, if that's the case, of him going out there, and he played well against Jacksonville. This wasn't a situation where he played poorly against Jacksonville. He played well against Jacksonville. He's also back in the building now. So he's been back in the building since the bye started. I think they're going to get him as ready as they need him to be. And frankly, with the style of player that Nick Bonito is, his ability to get up the arc, I would rather have the guy that can get up the arc a little quicker. Jalen Moore is great for quick setting, leaning on guys in the run game. But he is a really solid backup that I'm glad the Chiefs have. But this, from a stylistic fight, Josh Simmons is the better stylistic matchup for a guy like Nick Bonito, who could wreck the game by himself.
Do you guys I'm not sure if you noticed, I think both teams are probably telling themselves that their opponent isn't very impressive this year.
Yeah.
Like Andy's probably going to show Denver more respect than that because that's how Andy is. But like, if I mean, I guess maybe if you're on the Chiefs offense, you're impressed watching film. Any Chiefs defender watching that Broncos offense is like, this team sucks. How are they 8-2? Yeah. And I think that there's probably in a lot of ways the Broncos are over there watching the Chiefs like, who is this team? Like, I think that I think that both teams are probably looking at each other saying, I don't know. I don't think you're very good.
Well, it's just the way people look at football teams and football games, where if they're a defensive team, they're considered not that good. And it's just like, if a team looks good on offense, then they played well. Like if you lose a game 45-42, like, wow, great game. We looked great, but we just lost. If you win a game 13-10, it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why didn't you score on points? It's just everything is looked through the prism of how good your offense is, and that's how good your team is. And I think we're doing that a lot with Denver. I mean, I see Chiefs fans just making jokes left and right, and it's mostly aimed at Bo Nix, and that's fine. He did have a really bad game in a primetime, solo spot there. So everybody's just kind of happy to shit on him right now. But Bo Nix is not the Denver Broncos. Like, that defense is the Denver Broncos. They had a stat at halftime, so this might even be more impressive, but at halftime, the Broncos had the most sacks through 10 games since the 1989 Vikings. I mean, they are stacked on the defensive line. I can't think of, what's the other dude's name? Cooper? Is that the other rush?
Zach Allen
has been incredible this year, but you're thinking of Jonathan Cooper. Yeah.
Jonathan Cooper, he has like the fastest get off time like I've ever seen. He just whips. I mean, it looks like two Derek Thomases rushing from the edge from Denver sometimes. It's absurd what they got. And then Zach Allen eating upset. And then other guys like Franklin Myers, who just falls to these one-on-one spots. I'm not sure where he came from, but he was beating one-on-ones like crazy in that game against the Raiders. Maybe just everybody beats the Raiders, but I don't want people, and obviously I'm talking to fans here, so it's kind of silly, but don't think this is like an automatic win because Bo Nix doesn't look like a great quarterback. He is not the Denver Broncos. That defense is the Denver Broncos, and they are scary. The thing that gives me hope is how the Chiefs handled J.J. Watt down the stretch last year and the Houston Texans down the stretch last year. They came out, they game planned against them, and they weren't much of a factor. Fast forward to this year, we play the Bills. We do whatever that was last week, whatever that game plan was, whatever all of that was. Hopefully that's just a nothing burger, and focus. We get back to what we did down the stretch last year with a worse offensive line going up against these elite pass rushes, and we shut them down and move the ball pretty easily.
Yeah, the Denver Broncos lead the league in defensive success rate. 37.5%. And for those who don't know what success rate is, it's your ability to stay ahead of the sticks for all intents and purposes there. They lead the league on defense on that front.
Craig, we got a smart fan base here at Amateur. Of course they know what success rate is. They know exactly. Kareem Hunt's success rate last year, number one in the NFL.
The Hunt bunt,
now
maybe.
He's more of an EPA. He's more of an EPA guy this year. But.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, no, they lead the league in sacks. They lead the league in pressures. They lead the league in all of these advanced metrics: EPA per drop back, EPA per rush, success rate, all of that. They are that good. They really are. And I know that people are looking at their schedule. It's like, yeah, who have they beaten up on? Yeah, the Titans, sure. Bengals, that was during, not the Joe Flacco Bengals, not the Joe Burrow Bengals. So, that's what it was. The Eagles, when they couldn't figure anything out. The Jets, ugh. But then, they played the Cowboys. Cowboys have had a lot. That was right in the middle of the streak of having a lot of good performances. They played the Colts. They played the Chargers. The Giants gave them hell a little bit in a game that, frankly, the Giants shouldn't have been hanging around in. But they played some good offenses and still lead the league in all of these metrics. So, yes, that defense is so good. To go back to the offense, though, it is the polar opposite right now. From a success rate perspective, they're 27th. They're around where the Texans and the Raiders are right now on offense and their ability to do that. And so I look at this a little bit from the perspective of, that defense is just absolutely nasty. They're going to be in every single game that they're in, or it's going to be a blowout or something like that. It's why Bo Nix can play the way that he can play all game long and then come back and lead the league in fourth quarter and game-winning drives. That's what it is right now. He is at the top of that, partially because he's playing like shit for 3 straight quarters and that offense is not moving the ball, but that defense keeps him in every single game. So he just has to do enough. So yeah, to that point, Dirk, the defense is what you got to worry about. The defense is what it is. And I think right now, as Chiefs fans, we're expecting this offense is going to come out. They're going to try and move the ball. They're going to be able to move the ball because we hope that Andy Reid off of bye is going to come up with a great game plan and all of that. But what if they don't? Because this defense is just that good. This could quickly turn into a rock fight right now. And so I think a lot of people are kind of falling back on the fact that Spags should be able to give Bo Nix and Sean Payton a little bit of hell coming into this game because, well, we hope that Spags off of bye is better.
I'm interested in this idea that Denver playing the way that they're playing can maybe continue to be carried by that defense because I think that we're talking about razor thin margins. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that Giants game. It is quite literally the most improbable comeback number of points. They scored the most points in the fourth quarter, like in any game ever. It was the greatest deficit in the shortest amount of time ever. And it's been last second field goals and all sorts of, like truly end of game heroics and stuff to where like they are playing on the edge here. How about this for the Denver offense, trying to put some things in perspective? 1 touchdown in their last 17 drives. Not great.
Great.
And I think here's an edge I think that the Chiefs have against Denver that maybe people aren't thinking about. Offensively, I think everyone would assume that the Chiefs offense is better. And defensively, everyone can assume that the Broncos defense is better. But I mean, when you look at some of these metrics, they're really not that far apart. Scoring defense, the Chiefs are 4th, Denver is 1st. There's only a 0.4 point per game difference between 1st and 4th in that case. Denver's at like 17.4 and the Chiefs are at 17.8. Defensively, also in yards, there's only about 20 yards a game difference between the two teams. The Chiefs are 7th and Denver is 2nd. But when you start digging in, I mean, you mentioned some of the advanced metrics. Here's where I saw big gaps between Chiefs defense and Denver's defense. Yards per play, Chiefs are 17th, Denver's 1st. Third downs, Chiefs are 19th, Denver's 1st. Red zone, Chiefs are 23rd, Denver's 1st. Completion percentage allowed, Chiefs are 30th, Denver is 2nd. And then sack percent, the one that I think we're probably like really circling, knowing the Chiefs' history. The Chiefs are currently 14th in sack percent, and Denver is, of course, 1st. That Denver defense is 1st in practically freaking everything. Offensively, though, you start to see all those edges for the Chiefs to where I think that, like, if you don't look too deep, you stay on the surface, the Chiefs are the better team. When you start digging down and looking into the nitty gritty and all those advanced statistics, it seems like it's a more even matchup, but I still don't think Denver is better.
Well, and I think what the Chiefs can't do is, I mean, they can't turn the ball over. They have to be able to, if they're not playing well on offense, I feel like they kind of got outside of themselves in that Bills game and just started pressing when they didn't necessarily need to. And they started trying, they're aiming for 14-point plays when they just needed a 7-point drive. And it was really confusing because you rarely see that from them. You usually keep it within themselves. But I think if they can play a clean game, they are better than the Broncos and they'll be fine. They'll get in trouble if they start turning the ball over and give Broncos short field or make a huge mistake like they did against the Jags. I mean, they lose the Jags game because they throw a 100-yard pick six. That's what you can't have happen against the Broncos. So I think as long as they can keep it clean, then they should be good. I was thinking, Craig was kind of talking about what offenses the Broncos have played. What's the best defense the Chiefs have played? Like, I don't think they really played. Is it the Chargers? I guess it might be the Bills, who had surprisingly good defensive stats, but they really haven't gone up against a good defense this year. I think I just saw this in the comments or something. The Chiefs are beating up horrible defenses, which Commanders defense awful, Raiders defense awful, Lions defense probably middle of the road. I'm just going off my head here. Jags defense is pretty good. That might be the best defense they've played, and they put up good numbers against them. That was kind of my biggest argument. Ravens defense awful, Eagles and Chargers defense is mediocre, I guess I would say. But they really haven't played like a top 10 defense this year, unless you're putting the Chargers or Jags in there.
Yeah, Chargers are fourth in like success rate, EPA per play, more of those advanced-ish metrics there that you're seeing. The Lions, from an EPA per play perspective, are up there as well, although certainly the team that the Chiefs played that week was not that same Lions defense. They were so banged up in that game. So like that's part of it as well. But yeah, they haven't played a defense of this caliber yet. And then now they're going to turn around and play, Denver, Indy, Houston. And, those are probably going to be three of your better defenses that you are going to see for the remainder of the season here. So this is really going to be a little bit of a barometer. And it makes me wonder if Andy is going to come out full guns blazing. You're going to hear me speculate more about the Bills game if they come out and the concepts are a lot different and everything like that. Just, hey, let's sit on some of this stuff because we know that we've got the three best defenses that we have coming up here before the bye and all of that. We'll see on that front. But yeah, that's where it is right now. The Chiefs have not played a defense of this caliber. They will not play another defense of this caliber, which is scary to say because they've got the Texans on the schedule, and the Texans are ridiculously good too. Mm-hmm. This is the definition of a murderer's row that they are going to have to go up through right now.
Isn't it just weird that we're all kind of in collective agreement that we want the Chiefs to slow down and start throwing the ball underneath and relax on the deep shots, where we've spent 2 years begging for more deep shots? Like, let's not lose it to this pass rush. Let's go back to the conservative Chiefs. Let's go back to the winning Chiefs. Let's do that again.
I'm of two minds about that, because like part of how I think you have to attack this Denver team is by getting that ball out quick to neutralize what the pass rush wants to do. And that is something that when the Chiefs offense was clicking, Pat was getting the ball out the fastest that he had since 2018. We were seeing those fun, offensive trends about how the rate at which they're moving the football, and the amount that they were scoring, how efficient they were. And I think that the reason we worry about some of that stuff is like Xavier Worthy running across the field seems to be a thing of the past while this shoulder issue exists. I think that they're having a hard time figuring out how to use all the pieces. They've waited for so long and had all this stuff that in theory was going to work, but in practice they hadn't actually done yet. And so I think that is part of it. But I also think that there's a forgotten man in this mix that they really need to get reintegrated into the offense. And it's our guy, Tyqueek, because I've got some numbers for you here, guys. Through no fault of his own, we haven't heard a peep out of Tyqueek in weeks. But
is that the new hunt bunt? Is that the new hunt bunt? The Tyqueek peep?
We haven't heard a peep from Tyqueek in weeks. Look, in his first 5 games, Tyquan Thornton scored 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. In his last 4 games, Tyquan Thornton has 3 targets. In his first 5 games, Tyquan Thornton averaged 5 receptions. In his last 4 games, Tyquan Thornton has 1 reception total. So I don't understand how just because the personnel has changed a little bit, that he's just out of the offense. I think it was abundantly clear that he had the best downfield rapport with Patrick Mahomes of any player since Tyreek. I mean, truly, like there's not anybody that even comes close to looking like they have that kind of chemistry on downfield balls. And simply because Worthy and Rice are out there and you have Hollywood Brown, you're just going to let Thornton only run deep 4 times a game and not be involved in the game plan at all. That seems like an issue. And so I'm hoping that this bye week is an opportunity for them to figure out how to use the personnel differently on offense and make the 28 points a game more sustainable, and not something that they revert back to this clunky, offensive struggles that they had last year.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that Andy certainly spent all of, not this past off season, but the year before, designing up how I'm going to use Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and Hollywood Brown all on the field together. He had a whole suite of plays that he had ready to go, and that disappeared immediately and then disappeared even further in week 4 of last year. So I know that he's got this desire to come out there, show that this was the game plan, show that this is how it works. Hollywood at this point is getting the kind of balls that a bigger target like Tyquan Thornton should be getting. Hollywood Brown's going to get knocked off the route easier than Tyquan Thornton. That's the simple fact of the matter. Same with at the catch point, and we have seen that materialize in some bad ways for this Chiefs offense lately, where Hollywood Brown just can't win at the catch point in the same way. I think that this is the prime example, or the prime time, where we would get to see, hey, listen, let's take a look at what we're doing here again and make sure that we're deploying this personnel the way that we should. Maybe we start mixing Tyquan in a little bit more in place of Hollywood, or in place of Xavier Worthy, who has not been great downfield this year. Just try and mix and match a little bit more than they have lately. Definitely felt like since Rashee Rice got back that Andy went, look at all the stuff that I've been cooking up for 2 whole seasons at this point. I can't wait to use it. Now let's take a look at this in the bye week and make sure that that's actually the way that we should deploy this offense, reasonably, versus what they were seeing at the beginning of the year when Tyquan had to be such a big part of the offense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, somebody had to lose out when these guys came back, and so I guess it's just been him and somewhat Juju too, who only had to catch for 2 yards last game. It's weird. They got 5 receivers all between 215 and 389 yards on the season right now. Surprisingly, Hollywood Brown is the second leading receiver for the Chiefs on the season, behind Travis Kelce, who's pacing for 1,000 yards. It's just weird. It's kind of a weird group, though,
game, right? He's played every game. Hollywood,
yeah.
I think so. He's probably of that core that's had the time. That's probably why.
It's a little concerning that they don't use these guys like prototypical receivers. It just feels like Xavier Worthy's either like a screen or underneath, or like a couple go routes maybe that are been unsuccessful for quite a while now. And Rashee Rice is just so much underneath against zone, try to get him matched up with the linebacker in the slot. And it's just let him get yards after the catch, but we're not it's kind of not an off, we're not seeing a Sammy Watkins kind of route tree here where he can kind of do everything. And man, that pains me to say, because I shit on Sammy Watkins for years. Not from he's a beloved Chiefs, and he was around for great times and he did his job, but he made so much money that I was always kind of his production doesn't match how much money he makes here. But maybe we are kind of seeing or maybe I am kind of seeing, everybody else already saw it, I guess. But maybe I'm kind of seeing the value of a receiver who can kind of run the entire route tree and kind of opens up everything else for Tyreek Hill to do these, all this down the field stuff and underneath stuff, and Kelce work with them. But and then it comes down. So if you have Rashee and Xavier Worthy not running traditional wide receiver routes, then it's Hollywood Brown. And like you said, he's just kind of a tiny guy, hasn't been always been on the same page with Mahomes. It's just kind of either a mismatched unit, or they just have to figure out how to use the units together. So it's just kind of a weird mix of receivers where I don't see any of them running. There's very little intermediate stuff between the three of these guys, between all of their receiving core.
And I think the part that confuses me a little bit, just to put a bow for me on Hollywood Brown here, Juju and Rasheed and Xavier Worthy are still telling him where to line up. You know, there's still a lot of that. If you watch him go out, you know, to align on the line of scrimmage, there's still a lot of conversations about this. And part of that is Andy's offense. You know, again, I forget who it is, if that's a Kurt Warnerism or something like that, where, you know, they run routes to grass. Like, that's what it is. It's a little different than most offenses where it's like, hey, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then timing and then out and stuff like that. That's what Travis and Patrick do and why they're so successful. But some of these other receivers, it's more of a find space, find a route, find this within the confines of the play. Don't be on top of each other and stuff like that. And we've seen that Hollywood has some of those overlapping moments, has some of those things. And therefore, you know, as they're lining up, he's checking with these guys. Hey, where are you going again? Okay, I'm going here. And so I think that that's also some of it right now, and why it feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect with Hollywood, because they just don't have that same comfortability that maybe some of these guys like Worthy and Rice, who don't know any better from an NFL offense, you know, just coming in here and it's, hey, this is what we do. Got it. Hollywood's been in so many different offenses at this point now. He may be trying to structure things a little different.
I also think that we forgot to include him in the free agent class, because didn't they re-sign him to a 1 year?
They did.
And he got a raise. He got more money than last year to come back after not playing football at all.
I was doing, for the record, I was doing new faces only.
Sure. I was just thinking, it just had occurred to me that, like, oh, dang, we brought him back too after last year. I think that we might see more Juju down the stretch, because from what I am hearing, the Chiefs offense has done really well against zone and struggled against man, which I think is kind of like par for the course over the last however many years. And Juju is like the man beater guy that they have. And so I would expect that Juju maybe gets a little bit more time against a team like Denver, potentially, at least based on what other people say. I do think, though, are you guys anywhere near the same neighborhood as me that, like,
No, I'm sorry, I live in Colorado. I don't think
sure, yes. I'm in fucking Australia right now. I couldn't be further away.
Correct. Are you guys in the same neighborhood as me when it comes to, because he is not healthy, I feel like Xavier Worthy is a distraction, an unnecessary distraction for this offense. You can't use him the way that you want to. You're just trying to keep him involved, but nobody trusts, like you don't even really know how to use him, because he's a reduced version of who he's supposed to be. And so all these different temptations exist. And I just don't know what to do with him offensively. And I don't think that the Chiefs do either.
I think that's very fair. I don't know if I'd use distraction, but like if you need more from him if he's going to be out there, and you have a guy behind him who he's kind of taken the role of, who was more productive in that role in Tyqueek. So I think that is kind of a problem. And so what are you going to do? Sit him down? I mean, I think that it's on the table. At least split up snaps some more.
He needs surgery,
Sure. I don't feel like Juju's I don't feel like Juju's like a man beater because he just doesn't have the speed. Like he might be like a good route runner, but I always saw him as more of a zone guy too. I don't know who the man beater on this team would be, because I feel like everybody. Yeah, I guess it should be Worthy or Tyqueek, but across the board, it almost seems like they're all better against zone than man. And the answer here might just be Andy Reid scheming up, mesh routes and all kinds of crossing and pick stuff and that kind of stuff to get people open on mans. Because I don't see anyone on the team as like a great man beater, unless you're saying Xavier Worthy or maybe Tyqueek Thornton. Is that the answer?
And
Or Juju? Am I wrong on Juju? I don't look at
Juju's clearly the best route runner that they have right now. That is unquestionable, but he just doesn't have that burst to get in and out of it. So yeah, he may be the best route runner, but when he puts his foot in the ground, he's not gaining the sort of separation that maybe you would expect. You were hoping that Xavier Worthy was going to take that next step, but again, I know that I'm not breaking any news here, but like, yeah, the whole collarbone, the AC joint, whatever it is, his shoulder injury that he's got, like that matters when he's extending for catches. That matters when he's taking hits, but it also matters when he's trying to throttle up and drive. Your upper body, your arms, that is part of your drive ability as you're trying to run. And if you can't drive the same way with that shoulder, now all of a sudden you go from a 4.2 guy to maybe a mid 4.3. I have no idea. This is not scientific. And this is why we're doing amateur hour right now. But it reduces some of your ability to gain that deeper separation. And Taekwon has that. Yeah, he's slower is what I'm trying to get at. He's slow, and it's because of the shoulder. He can't drive the same way. So
don't we have the next gen? Don't we have next gen stats on his?
I'm sure. I'm sure we do. I'll open up next gen stats to see if they have ball carrier stats here.
I don't think he's had the ball in his hand enough to know if he's running full speed yet.
For sure. I mean, well, also next gen stats tried to tell us that Travis Kelce did 19 miles an hour against who was that a couple of weeks ago? No chance in hell. I'm sorry. There's no chance in hell he got to that point. But I do think it matters. And so going back to the Taekwon portion of that, if he's still got that speed, yeah, he can be used in far less ways than Xavier Worthy can, certainly. But if he's still got that speed, maybe it makes sense to have him doing that a little more often. I know Andy's trying to keep stuff close to the vest and trying to deploy him in ways that defense is going to pay attention to him. But frankly, at a certain point, if you're not targeting him and he's not getting open down the field and it's not really paying dividends for your offense, defenses are going to start ignoring it. And I think maybe that's what we saw a little bit against Buffalo, as they just went, sure, go for it. See if he can beat us over the top. We don't think he can right now, and got to play a little more top down.
Can I just say, I wish we had next gen stats when we'd go to games at Arrowhead and we'd get in late and I really wanted to make it to my seat before the national anthem. I would just completely leave my group and go on a full-on sprint to the seat to try and get there for the home of the Chiefs. I wish we had next-gen stats because I guarantee I was running faster than Travis Kelce.
I can tell you right now that Xavier Worthy, with the ball in his hand, which, again, you mentioned, is not in the top 20 fastest ball carriers this year in the NFL. Tyquan Thornton is 12th. With the ball in his hands.
So that's it's with the ball in his hands. So
correct.
You'd kind of have to see if he ever had the ball in his hands running like full speed.
Correct. And I can't think of a time when I've seen that out of him this year.
I really thought his speed would just pop more often than it does.
I think we got spoiled by Tyreek. And Tyreek having the explosion and the speed, I think everybody expected to see Xavier Worthy just being like, look at him. He moves so much different than everybody else. It's always been the long speed element of it that like he just continues to build through all of that. And Tyreek was just so sudden. Xavier's not that level of sudden. So I definitely understand what you're saying. I think that's what it is. That's why people look at it.
That's a good point. I have never once said like he looks as fast as Tyreek Hill. Whereas you're watching Tyreek Hill and it's, 15 times a season, like, holy shit, that dude's fast.
Yeah.
I think, and it's some of the Tyreek like speed was so much about his power. I mean, look at the difference in the way that these two guys are built, right? Like they don't look like the same sport, honestly, at all. Like, I mean, I genuinely wonder, this is an exaggeration for effect, people. But like, could both of Xavier Worthy's calves fit inside of one of Tyreek's thighs? Like they're seriously, they're so different in terms of just the body composition and everything. How are they both just these incredible speed demons? But I mean, honestly, when the way you put that, Dirk, like, I don't think I've ever thought Xavier Worthy is the fastest guy in the league, like with the pads on and everything. I don't see him the way that I viewed Tyreek at all.
Where's the next gen stats on being able to fit two calves inside of a thigh? We should have that.
I'm looking here. All I've got is longest tackles. Did you guys know that was a thing that Next Gen Stats tracks? Longest tackles.
Is that like I saw like a thick six going around just today.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Guy was
No,
dragging
it's like the distance that somebody covered before they made a tackle. So like trying to show hustle on a play.
George
is not on the list.
There's no Chiefs?
No Chiefs. Jaquan Brisker leading the league with a 95-yard chase down for a tackle.
DK Metcalf with the best longest tackle.
That was the best one, yes.
Honestly, glad for Brisker. He had a really scary injury a year or two ago, and he was a phenomenal player before, and maybe that means that he's back. Any last words on Chiefs Broncos before we make our way out of here with a little sports nuts?
Oh, we don't sports nuts?
I mean, we can just do buy nuts.
It's a huge game. It's a huge game. It's hard to imagine the Chiefs winning the division if they lose. It's possible, I guess, if you say they win out their other games. But yeah, you almost have to fold on the division if you lose this one. And it's tough.
I think they got to sweep them, honestly. I think they need to beat them both times if they want to win the AFC West.
I think that's fair, yeah. So yeah, it's just a huge game. I'm nervous about it. There's a lot of bad memories of watching seasons get blown up inside the Denver stadium, the fake Mile High stadium. So yeah, I am a little nervous. I will admit that.
Craig, are you going?
I'm not going. No, I'm not able to make the trip out there this time.
It's probably $400 or $500 to get in the door.
It is pricey.
It's a really expensive ticket. Now. Denver Chiefs Broncos. I remember us all the years that Peyton was there and hoping that we could beat the Broncos. We kept looking, and every year, they're playing on a Monday night, so it's even more expensive. But that's 10, 12 years ago, and we're talking about it was $300 or something to go in.
That is an expensive 8-2 football team trying to put down the Kansas City Chiefs in the division. This is
their Super Bowl.
Massive game. This is their Super Bowl. It really is. And I mean, this is one of we mock that frequently. It is actually one of those that it does kind of line up, it jives. I get why they would throw all their eggs in this basket, because they can kill off the Chiefs essentially in the division only here.
Yeah, this does feel like they're chanting there'll be a loss in momentum. The Chiefs still run this division. It is a
way to legitimize themselves, right? No one is taking them seriously, and if the Chiefs come in and beat their ass, I mean, if it's a close game, then it's going to be all right, cool, can't wait for Christmas, right? But if the Chiefs come out guns blazing and beat this team by 2-3 scores, people are going to say paper tigers, all right, Denver's, you beat up on bad teams and the defense is good, but obviously this isn't a team that's ready to compete.
Absolutely the case. I look at this, especially on the offensive side of the ball for Denver here. They are one of the most pass-heavy teams in the league, and I know that surprises people with that offensive line. They're about middle of the pack in rushing attempts. Bo Nix currently, at the time that before all the games have happened this weekend here, currently leads the league in passing attempts. He does, believe it or not. And it hasn't gone well. He has the lowest sack percentage of any quarterback in the league. Understandably so. That offensive line is terrific. So yeah, that all checks out. Throws the ball really quickly. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But his completion percentage is terrible. He's 27th in the league in completion percentage. He is 7th or 8th in the league in interception percentage. And when you kind of roll all that together into NEA, which is what I like to use when I'm looking at quarterbacks, because really it kind of shows.
Yeah, eggs? You like to use eggs?
I use eggs. Yolks. I like them poached with a little hollandaise on them. But I mean, it takes into account interceptions, sacks, yards, touchdowns. It multiplies it all out into this big formula that you can use to really look at quarterbacks and how they are playing this year, he's 20th. And sacks are included in that. Like, he's just not in a position right now where they should be giving him the ball as often as they are and saying, go win us football games. And yet that's their offense. I know, I talk to Broncos fans around here all the time. They're so frustrated with the fact that Sean Payton won't run the damn ball. And the Chiefs defense, run defense, is not particularly great right now, but their pass defense is. And so this could turn into more of a strength versus strength matchup, especially if the Chiefs can put some points on the board early against the Broncos there. Then you're going to see Bo trying to drop deep, trying to win it all, because that's what he does. Just launch it downfield to Cortland Sutton, launch it downfield to Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, whoever he can down there. I can see him getting into those habits and trying to win the game all at once. That's when things have not looked good. That's when we've seen this Broncos offense not look very good. So it's really what I've got my eye on here. I think Spags can come into this game playing a more pass-heavy script and dial up some of these blitzes a little bit more and know that he can be in some of these down and distances where he's not probably going to see the run quite as frequently. Go in there with a blitz-heavy game plan and see how Bo and this offensive line deal with it. See if you can get up on him early.
Maybe it's just a case of Sean Payton shutdown mode, and he's not wanting to show the running game up until this week.
There you go. I mean, maybe that's the case. Just been saving it all for the Chiefs.
I will say, watching Bo Nix, he's really good, like, on the run. Like, he can make plays if he escapes, and then he's really good at either running. He's very fast, or he's good at making the defender come up and then throwing, right past the defender. But that's like all he's got. So, like, just keep him in the pocket. Just keep him in the pocket. I think it's one of those kind of games where maybe you don't see the best of pass rushes, but it's like more of a contain type of pass rush, or really come after him and light him up so he doesn't have any lanes. But that will be the key to the game. If you keep him in the pocket, I think you win the game. He can start to make some big plays if he escapes.
And that's make Bo Nix beat you, but only throwing, right? Like you want it to be on Bo Nix, but you really got to limit what version of Bo Nix you end up seeing.
You see it every week with him taking off in the fourth quarter and scrambling for like this 25-yard gain. You see it every single week.
Happens all the time. Yep.
I think I like Craig, the idea of just kind of blitzing the lights out of this guy. And just seeing how he responds. I will be very interested. The fact that he is throwing the ball at a rate that rivals Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott and some of these offenses that don't even feign an interest in the run most of the time, that is a bad formula for the Broncos. And I know that they have had to throw to win in the fourth quarters of these games. And so that might be part of it. But I mean, he basically has the same number of attempts per game as any other quarterback in the league. And that is not a winning formula for them. Let's do some sports nuts.
Oh boy. What is sports nut, huh?
So I just, for sports nuts this week, guys, I figured we could just talk about what we're doing instead of watching the Chiefs. With a Sunday off from football for me, and I know I'm probably handling this maybe differently than you fellas will. I'm not a sicko. And so I just won't be watching football on Sunday. If it's on, it'll like be on, in the background at best. And so for my sports nuts this week, I'm telling you that if you're a nut, sometimes you got to take a break. Okay. And for the bye week, my break is going to be putting up the Christmas tree with my family.
Whoa.
Are you Thanksgiving Christmas tree?
My wife is, as soon as it's November, the Christmas tree needs to go up, and we're already a week in. And having Hazel, who mostly is just excited by light, I think that'll be fun for her to look at and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna put up the Christmas tree tomorrow, kind of transform the house for the season, and that's what I'm doing instead of watching the Chiefs.
What a sports nut, huh?
Yeah.
I'll go here. So I guess my sports nut is kind of, I had a tough situation where I'm going on a vacation. I waited until after this weekend. It's already happened on this podcast, but Nebraska playing at UCLA, because they come here every so often. I don't know how, it might be like 5 years until they come here again. They played at USC last year. I went and saw them playing at the Rose Bowl. I've been looking forward to this all year. Been pumped for this game. And then the fucking quarterback goes out for the year last week. And so it was just like a real test of wills. Like, man, do I really want to do this? Because it's at least an hour drive there, getting out's a pain. But it's the Rose Bowl, man. It's the Rose Bowl. But happy to report that I made the decision. I am going to the game tonight from when we're recording. And so I'm pumped for that. And that's how I'm kind of spending my bye week, I guess. I'll be packing during most of Sunday, but watching every single minute of NFL action, obviously, because I am a sports nut. But I guess I need a break as well. I can recharge in the middle of the season. That's why I like to take a mid-season vacation. And so a little recharge, get away from the NFL just a bit, just to make me miss it. Like, oh man, I wish I was sitting at home watching NFL, not out here doing all this cool shit, which does happen because I am a sicko. But so, yeah, pumped for Nebraska at UCLA. It's a pick'em game with, I think UCLA is 3-6. It's going to be some bad football. The backup quarterback looked pretty bad last week, and I am fucking pumped to see it at the Mose Bowl.
Feed me the dreck. I want to see it. Yeah. I have been like locked in to work. Unfortunately, the day job has crept into the weekends a little too often lately. So I am taking.
Craig is quitting his job.
No. I did not say
that.
Sports nut. Yeah. I'm doing this full time. Just AHPKC. That's all I'm doing. No, I am. I'm very much looking forward to being around the house, hanging out with the family. I am going to watch some football. I'm probably going to bake some bread or some cookies or something like that, just to feel like I'm home a little bit. But really, really excited here. Looking at the slate, I can't wait for Saints Panthers. That's just going to be awful football. I wish it wasn't on at the same time as Jets Browns, which will be worse somehow. But
Hey, we got jokes, but the Carolina Panthers have the exact same record as the Kansas City Chiefs.
Don't know what you're talking about. One of these teams that I feel better.
They might be ahead of us with a game playing the Saints. There's a good chance they're going to be 6-4 and a half game ahead of the Chiefs in the standings.
Yeah, well, our quarterback is taller, and that's what really matters here, as established at the beginning of the show. No, the lineup isn't the best this weekend, unfortunately. The early slate, I think Tampa Bay and New England, I'm going to probably be locked into, with maybe one eye on Jacksonville, Houston, just because that has ramifications for the Chiefs. But then once we get into the afternoon slate, Los Angeles, San Francisco might be fun. Arizona, Seattle is going to be a Haas fight. And then unfortunately, we have to let the Los Angeles Chargers grace our screens on Monday night or Sunday night football. So not looking forward to that. That's going to be just
but it is
a fun game.
It is kind of fun. And one of the things with the Chiefs situation that they're in right now is that you have a lot of games to root for.
A lot of games.
We have a lot of AFC teams to root against over the next month or so. So that's kind of fun because it adds meaning across the league for Chiefs fans.
It does. It absolutely does.
So I guess one programming note after the Broncos game, since his Dirkness will be G'dayin. All the Aussies down under. I will be here in Kansas City with the one, the only Joshua Briscoe, doing the postpartum on Chiefs Broncos. Pretty excited to talk to like the voice of Chiefs radio now. Pretty popular and important guy.
Those are some big shoes to fill, if I might say so.
Yeah. Yes, you have some big shoes. Bigger than Art Haynes, for sure. All right, folks, this has been another episode of Amateur Hour, but a special one at that. Thanks, Craig, for joining us today. I'm Ryan Scott Hall. He is his Dirkness. That is Craig Stout as well. And yeah, enjoy your bye week, folks. Put up a Christmas tree or bake some bread or go to Australia.
Fuck the Broncos.